China has more people than the combined population of Europe, North America, South America, and Japan. So obviously, there is a large population found in China. But we'll look at some different characteristics that are going to make 21st century China much different than 20th century China. Population Pyramid, China, 1995. So let's look at some obvious characteristics of this population pyramid. You can see that there was this period of large population growth. You can see how it really becomes exaggerated there in the 45 to 25 age categories. Also, you can see that there, with that steady growth, that there was a sudden, abrupt shift, a transition, a decrease in birth rates noticed by that 10 to 15-year-old population being much fewer than their older and younger generations. And then finally, you notice a very large sex ratio imbalance. And so we look at how much of this red box on the left is filled in, how much is the red box on the right filled in. Because if you look at the scale, they both represent the 42 to 56 million population quantity level. And you can see that there's definitely more blue inside that red box than there is pink in that red box on the right, illustrating that there's a sex ratio imbalance. And so here are some characteristics of population pyramids, of some things that look interesting. Let's find out why. What caused these patterns? Looking now at 2010, right now, we can see those 20 in their younger 20s, a very large sex ratio imbalance. Look how many more males there are than females in that red box, in that what we would say the younger 20, the college-age kids of China. But if we look at China, yeah, it's the largest population in the world. Yeah, it's a big contributor to overall population growth. But if we look at the pattern, it looks like it's transitioning. And according to this projection, it will transition. So this is part of China moving from developing country to developed country. And so China is seeing a very rapid rural to urban migration, which is very typical of these stage 3 countries. And in the future, maybe China will have a stabilizing population, and this will kind of give further credence to the idea that India will soon be larger than China in terms of population. We'll get to India in a minute. But we can see that baby boom, that large population growth in 2025, that cluster there in their 60s, they're going to be at the retiring age. So one of the things we're going to see in China, just like we're seeing right now in the United States, is this increasingly aging population. Some key stats about China, population-wise, 1.29 billion people today. By 2050, that should be about 1.5. So a stabilizing of the population looks pretty evident. Ideas we got going on here, 1980s, there were 14 to 17 million people added each year, and this has definitely gone down quite considerably. We'll look at why this is the case in a future slide. One of the characteristics, very much stage 3, rapidly urbanizing. Right now it's 35% urban, but it's moving very quickly. It's having a very large rural to urban migration. It's one of the largest migrations happening currently in the world is population within China moving to its cities. Further, there was a very interesting statistic. There are more Chinese women in their reproductive age than there is in the entire population of the United States. So, yep, their population growth rate is definitely slowing down, but the numbers are still going to be there. You've got so many women who are just in their reproductive years, and so even if they have 1-2 children, it's definitely going to leave its impact on population globally. Well, once again, we see the J curve. This is very much similar to what we saw previously, but now we're just looking at China. And China had these two kind of spurts. This initial one that happened in the late 1700s, and a lot of this is related to the age of exploration. What we had here was sailors from Europe, from Asia, even Africa, who was trading with China now. So you had more diversified diets as you had more worldly foods, more foods from Europe that brought a healthier diet, but also more diversified diet than caused population growth. And so we kind of had the agricultural revolution occurring here in China at the time. But then we had this next wave. And this next wave is very much related to political factors in the case of Mao Zedong. We'll talk about Mao Zedong and the Communist Revolution in China post-1949 on the following slides. And I already stated this, but here's verbiage of my previous slide statements. But after 1949, what we had the role of Mao Zedong, the leader in China at the time, and one of the ideas he had was he wanted to encourage a large population. He felt like a large population meant a larger workforce, more people working, more money being generated. Also, this was seen as a way to compete against Soviet Union and United States. We look at after World War II, Soviet Union and United States definitely emerged as the two dominant powers, and so this was seen as a way to offset, as offer an alternative is what's just simply outnumber them, kind of a simple military strategy. And so what he did was he encouraged women, do your patriotic deed, breed for the motherland was one of the quotes. And so he encouraged population growth, and we can see the impact of actual one individual and their policies causing a very large population growth in China during this 1949 to mid to late 1970s period. Like every good dictator, they eventually die, and so when Mao died, a new policy was enacted, and this was Deng Xiaoping, and he saw, okay, that breed for their motherland, that had some negative, definitely some tenuous consequences, and so he actually encouraged a population control called the one-child policy. And this was originally seen as a short-term measure, and it definitely varied from place to place. It was definitely encouraged more in urban areas, rural areas where you need more people working out in fields, a little bit less enforced. But the main idea here was this was to move China to a small family society. That breed for the motherland caused all these mouths that we had to feed now here in China. Not so much we, but anyway. And so what we had here was an economic reform during a period of stagnation. So this was seen as, okay, let's kickstart the economy. And the idea towards a small family society was, let's increase the standard of living for each individual, and to do that, let's have smaller families. There was definitely some incentives that kind of enforced you as a Chinese soon-to-be parent to decide, well, let's just have that one. Let's just stick to one, because if you had a second, you had to pay an extra fee, or you might have lost health and education benefits, and so it definitely paid to have only one child. There's some propaganda that came out of this one-child policy. Here is this promotion, and I had a Chinese TA from 2006. And this was her translation. This is Mandarin up here in the left. What this is encouraging is a one-child family, evident in this poster, and it says, "Sweet be this." That's the translation, according to my Chinese teaching assistant. More propaganda that came out of this one-child policy. Here, one child being lifted up, and this is very patriotic. Do your national deed. Then it became a little bit more enforced, a little bit more, let's say, less politically correct. You better have only one child, this sign says. And then we get really politically incorrect. One more baby means one more tomb. And then houses toppled, cows confiscated, if abortion demand rejected. These are translations to some promotions from once again, the one-child policy. But eventually they realized that, okay, this is a little too harsh. This kind of is a little bit too over the top as far as our promotion of this one-child policy, and so they became a little bit more politically correct. Here, Mother Earth is too tired to sustain more children. And then dealing with the sex ratio issue, now that we had one child, so if in a male-dominant society plus ultrasound technology, you would have an abortion. if you were going to have a girl. So now they wanted to combat that and say both boys and girls are parents' hearts. Some impacts of the one-child policy, looking at 1979 to more recent times. Definitely a fertility rate decline, 2.93, nearly 3 children per woman, now 1.7. Also a sex ratio increase. 1979, for every 100 females, there were 106 males. 2001, for every 100 females, now 117 males. A lot of this is, like I said, abortions due to ultrasound technologies where you can already, at an early stage, identify the sex of the child. Also, you do have a good amount of underreporting of female births. And so they went ahead and had their child, but just didn't report it to the government. And so that's one of the issues is you have a lot of these, what they refer to as missing females, girls who weren't registered. Also, you have an old age dependency increase. That's one of the issues in China is they're going to have a very quickly, very aging population. What are they going to do about it? Definitely what we're facing with that here in the United States, but on the a little bit more long term, it's going to be an issue in China. This is just an interesting photo. Just as a rural village, what they did was kind of illustrating the male-dominant society. They went until they got a boy. Issues in China. How will a shortage of females affect China? By 2020, there will be 30 million more males. Social instability for sure. Those with lower incomes or little skill sets, education, are going to have difficulty finding wives. And so you're going to have an issue of having a lot of males who are unemployed, who are at the bottom edge of the spectrum. That many would say that could be appetite for some violence. Other positive issues you could say is poor women, women from more rural villages, women that typically come from lower status families can now marry up because they're more in demand because there's essentially just a fewer supply compared to how many males there are. Also, is you get males that are buying brides from North Korea and Vietnam, and so we're seeing a little bit of an impact of a sex trade industry developing because of this looming issue of having so many more males than females, especially at that younger population, 20 to 30-year-olds. So what's going to happen in China with all these older folk? Number of 60-year-old and over will jump from 143 million to 430 million by 2040. Keep in mind, current U.S. population is 300 million. 30% of the total population of China by 2040 will be over the age of 60. With the one-child policy, kind of interesting what it's going to also cause is one child will be supporting 2 parents and 4 grandparents. And so this is definitely going to put stresses on Social Security systems when you have this inverse system where you have one child supporting all their grandparents and both their parents. Another thing that isn't really thought of too much, but you get the one-child policy, and so you have a lot of only children. And as an only child, I know the different characteristics that make us unique, let's say. One of the issues is you have a lot of pressure put on that one child. One of the issues you have is definitely have high suicide rates amongst teenagers, amongst young people in China, due to that high amount of pressure as they go from piano to math to sports to English to math to track to soccer to whatever. One of the things that I no longer, don't ask me, I don't have any connections, but a lot of college students are finding is actually families, because they realize that English is becoming very important for their child to know and to learn. They're actually hiring American students to come over and just talk, not so much to get out the chalkboard and start writing, telling what a gerund is, what a participle phrase is, but more just speaking English, talking slang language, OMG, LOL, explaining what those terms are. Those are things that actually families are paying decent money for. Further, you have generations that lack siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, and sister-in-laws when you have only just one child. So you don't have sisters, and then that's, I don't have a large family, but those of you who do, imagine if you didn't have that network of aunts, uncles, cousins,